Welcome back to the broadcast, everybody. It's tough, you know? We can't ignore the American Airlines Flight 5342 crash.
Yeah, it's a tragedy, weighs heavy on everyone's minds. Reminds us, even with amazing advancements in aviation, how fragile life is.
It really does. And this wasn't, a small thing. This collision near D.C., it's the deadliest crash in the U.S. for commercial airlines in, like, almost 24 years.
64 people, passengers, crew, gone, just like that. The impact on families, communities, it's impossible to measure.
So let's talk about what we know so far. Flight 5342, it was landing at Reagan National. Everything seemed routine.
And what's scary is this happened in one of the most controlled airspaces. Around D.C., there are so many safety protocols, but this still happened.
It's one thing to read the reports, but then you hear the stories from people who saw it. Really paints a picture.
Right. People saw the plane, the helicopter just before, and then some described the explosion, the sound, debris falling into the Potomac. It's horrifying.
The NTSB, they're leading the investigation. They're going to be looking at the black boxes, those flight recorders, trying to figure out exactly how this happened.
Yeah, those recorders have all the data, altitude, speed, communications, really important for understanding the events leading to the crash. Helps figure out, was it mechanical, human error?
And those answers, they're so important, not just for the families, but for making sure something like this doesn't happen again.
Exactly. The NTSB, they'll look at everything. Air traffic control, what the pilots did, the weather, even maintenance records. What they find could change a lot about how we keep our skies safe.
And while that's all happening, we're seeing, amazing support from the community. People are coming together, helping the families, remembering those who were lost.
It's inspiring to see people showing compassion like this. Memorials, support services, local leaders getting involved really shows you the strength people have.
One thing that really hit me was they mentioned there were some talented figure skaters on the flight. Makes you think, behind all the numbers, these were people with lives, dreams.
It does. It makes it real. Each person on that flight, they had their own story, people who loved them, a future ahead of them. This loss, it goes way beyond just the immediate tragedy. It makes you realize the responsibility, keeping air travel safe, so many lives on each flight. It's something we have to work at constantly.
And this crash, it really makes you wonder, how can we prevent something like this from happening again? What are the experts saying?
Well, a lot of people think we need better communication. Between commercial planes, military aircraft, they're sharing the same airspace, so clearer rules, better coordination, that could really help.
It makes sense. When you have planes going so fast, communication has to be perfect.
Absolutely. Even a small mistake, a misunderstanding, it can be disastrous. This crash shows just how bad it can be.
This brings up a big question.
Yeah.
What can we do to make flying as safe as possible? For everyone, passengers, people on the ground.
That's the question everyone's asking now. It's going to be a long discussion for the aviation industry. We need to look at everything. The rules, maybe stricter rules, new technology, even flight paths, how pilots are trained.
So we could see big changes, how we manage airspace because of this crash.
It's possible. But these things, they take time. New rules, training people, new technology, it's not overnight. But there's going to be pressure, and for good reason. People need to feel safe flying.
I think anyone getting on a plane expects everything possible is being done to keep them safe.
Well,
We've come a long way with technology, but like we saw, there are still risks.
exactly, and we can't forget those risks. We need to be careful, always looking for ways to improve. Even with everything we have, mistakes happen, things we don't expect, things can go wrong.
It makes you think we're not always in control as much as we want to be. We have to be ready to adapt, learn from what happens.
And that's the key, not just what happened, but why it happened, what all the factors were, so we can come up with real solutions, make a real difference.
So what can we do as individuals? How can we help make air travel safer?
Stay informed. Pay attention to the NTSB investigation. Learn about safety issues. Talk to people. Maybe even contact your elected officials. Make your voice heard.
The more we know, the better we can advocate for change, right?
Right. And you can support organizations working on safety. There are groups doing research, advocating for change, educating people. Lots of ways to get involved.
And we can choose which airlines we fly with, right? Support the ones that are doing a good job with safety.
Exactly. As consumers, we have power. We can demand the best safety from the airlines, and that can push the whole industry to do better.
One thing we don't always think about, the air traffic controllers. They're handling so many flights at once. Under pressure, there's no room for error.
It's an incredibly tough job. They have to be skilled, focused, calm. They're the unsung heroes working behind the scenes, keeping everyone safe.
So important.
Right.
We need to make sure they have the best training, the best technology, everything they need.
It's easy to feel sad, even helpless, after a tragedy like this. But we can't give up. We have to use this to make things better.
Yeah. It's not about blaming anyone, but understanding what went wrong. So we can take action, make flying safer for everyone. That's how we honor the people who are lost, by making sure their loss leads to positive change.
We have to turn this tragedy into something good. Make air travel safer, more reliable for everyone. That's what we owe the victims, ourselves, and the future of aviation.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to finish up this broadcast. And we are back on the broadcast. Something I've been thinking about is it's easy to feel overwhelmed after something like this. Like, what can one person even do?
Yeah, I get that. But even small things can make a difference. It all adds up. Like we said, staying informed, supporting those organizations, working on safety, maybe even, contacting your representatives, talking about these issues.
Right. And while it's important to understand all the technical stuff, the investigation, we can't forget about the people. Those 64 people on that flight, they weren't just numbers. They had families, lives, dreams.
Absolutely. We have to remember that. And honor their memory, not just with words, but with action. By making flying as safe as we possibly can, that's how we make sure their loss meant something. That something good came out of it.
Well said. I think that's a good place to wrap up this broadcast. This has been a tough one, but an important one. We had to talk about this, about aviation safety and what this tragedy means.
I agree. These are conversations we need to keep having. We can't let go of this. We have to work together, keep pushing for safer skies.
To everyone listening, thank you for joining us. Our thoughts are with the families and friends of everyone on Flight 5342. We hope their memories can give us strength, inspire us to work for a safer future.
Let this tragedy be a wake-up call, a reason for the whole industry to change, to put safety first, for everyone who flies.
Until next time, everyone, stay safe. We'll be back with more broadcasts, digging into important topics like this. Because the more we know, the more we can do.
Looking forward to having you back. We'll have more to discuss, more to learn, right here on the broadcast.
Remember to subscribe, share your thoughts with us, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other.